All right, hello everyone. My name is Kevin, and I'd like to welcome you all to our latest Novedge webinar series episode. Today we are partnering with Lilian Magallanes to talk about real-time collaboration with Bluebeam Studio. Get ready to enhance project collaboration and make Bluebeam Revu your studio. See how Revu's integrated cloud solution can host virtual meetings to enable remote project partners from across the globe to collaborate online in real time. In today's webinar, Lilian demonstrates how project teams can collaborate on the fly via studio sessions, where multiple users can redline a single copy of the same PDF together in real time or separately on their own time from a desktop, tablet, PC, or an iPad. Sign up today for this free webinar, and well, you guys already signed up. My bad. So for those of you who don't know who Lilian is, Lilian has 8 years working with facilities and 5 years in construction management. Before working for Bluebeam Software as a construction industry specialist, Lilian was a BIM coordinator for Los Angeles Community College for its bond program representing the owner. Today's presentation is about 40 minutes long, and afterwards we'll have a brief Q&A where Lilian will be available to answer your questions live. Submit your questions to us at any time into the chat window below. Before we get going with today's presentation, here's an overview of what we do at Novedge. The Novedge webinar series is brought to you by Novedge.com. As one of the largest online design software stores, we offer a huge assortment of software solutions that cater to virtually every designer's need. To check out Bluebeam Revu 11 Extreme and to explore our entire Bluebeam catalog, you are welcome to call and speak with our Bluebeam specialist, Calvin Locke. You can reach him by his email address, calvin@novedge.com. To get a glimpse at who is changing the world of design one step at a time, please visit Novedge's very own blog. Every week, our interviews shine a light on those innovators whose work break out from the norm. For more details, please visit us today at blog.novedge.com. And to stay up to date with what's happening in the design industry, along with Novedge's latest webinars and product promos, do like us on Facebook. Coming up the week after Thanksgiving, Maya Marov-Holtzman returns to Novedge with a presentation on jewelry modeling techniques and commands for Rhino 5. Join her as she covers the step-by-step creation of a model for rapid prototyping and casting, using the precision modeling necessary to accurately follow a 2D dimensional spec sheet for 3D production. To sign up for this exciting webinar, head on over to novedge.com/webinar/95. And last but not least, today's webinar is being recorded. If you need to rewatch episode 94 in its entirety, as always, you can find it on our Novedge webinar series channel through Vimeo and YouTube. With that said, Lilian, are you ready?
I'm ready. Thank you, Kevin.
Cool. I just one little small request. Could you make the audio a little bit louder?
Yeah, I can do.
Cool.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, excellent. Cool. I'll switch over to you right about now. All right. Enjoy, guys.
Thank you, Kevin, again. So most of you guys already know my name. I'm Lilian, and I'm excited to be here and talk about real-time collaboration with Bluebeam Studio. So I'm sure you guys are aware that in today's projects go incredibly fast-paced, and with that you need to make key decisions and advance the project in real time. With that being said, there are some challenges that are being faced, some communication challenges. One is the design teams are decentralized. So you're having to interface with multiple offices and multiple different time zones and have to juggle with everyone's schedule. And the other challenge is accessing documents. Document sets need to be easily accessible by everyone from any location. That's a challenge. And the third one would be merging comments and redistributing a copy of each new revision in time, which can become time-consuming and a very manual process. So we're going to talk about Bluebeam Studio. So by utilizing Bluebeam's collaboration tool, you can easily access all your information up to date in real time. And with Studio, you can invite all of your project participants, and you can upload all of the PDF documents that you need to have available for review, where you can look at it collectively, and then from there you can invite other attendees to that session. And then those attendees who don't have a registered copy of review, of course, they can utilize the free viewer called Bluebeam View. so that they will be able to join the session and view the documents and upload and view the documents that you uploaded, excuse me, and they can also add their own comments and markups in the session, which is actually pretty cool if you ask me. So in today's agenda, we're going to start off by taking a look at a document setup. So we're going to take a look at our tool sets, how to create them and add customized tool sets. We're going to take a look at profiles, how to share them with other team members. We're also going to create custom columns and custom statuses. From there, we're going to jump into Bluebeam Studio. So we're going to create a session, upload our documents, and invite other attendees to our session. So currently at the moment, I'm in what is called presentation mode with Bluebeam Revu. So if I hit the escape button on my keyboard, it takes me right into Revu's interface. So actually we're going to go ahead and start with the process talking about a typical constructability review. So as you see on the screen, I have a drawing page on the screen. So in this case, I'm going to be the architect, and I need the rest of my architectural team, my engineering team, and the construction manager to be able to review all of these comments that are happening throughout the review, as well as be able to sign off periodically along the way. So we're going to be able to start by creating some of the custom tools. So tools are actually a really powerful, useful tool. So we're going to go ahead and create some of our own tools that I'm going to go ahead and share with the rest of the team. So within my markup menu up here, I'm going to go ahead and select my cloud tool. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in and out of my drawing. So what I'm doing is with the wheel of my mouse, I'm scrolling up and down. And if I click and hold the wheel of my mouse, I can actually pan anywhere on my document. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom into this corner of my drawing, click, drag and hold, and place my cloud. And I can easily change the attributes really easy on my cloud. So I can actually right-click and open up my properties panel. And my properties has opened up on the right side of my screen. So I'm going to pull this out just a little bit more so you can view that. And I can change the appearance color. So I can go from red to a nice navy blue. I can change the fill color to, let's go with a nice canary yellow. But I also noticed as I'm changing the attributes that the fill color is too strong. So I can go ahead and change the opacity percentage. I'm going to go ahead and click on the down arrow and bring that to about 40%. So it's still eye-catching to the viewer who's going to see this drawing, that knowing that there's a call-out here, but they can also still see the information that's underneath the call-out, the cloud tool itself. I can also change my line width to make that blue line a little bit much more thicker. And once, let's see, I can also change the style of the cloud as well. So if I bring out a call-out, which is located here on the side of my Markup Drift, I can also do the same. So I can click on the call-out and place my call-out on my drawing. Same thing. I can also change the appearance of my call-out. I'm going to change that to, again, that canary yellow. For the line, if it's too light, I can always change my mind. And then change that back to the nice big blue, and then change my fill color to that yellow. So now that I created these tools, I can actually go ahead and give them a group subject. So I'm going to go ahead and select my lasso tool, which happens to be my favorite tool. So I'm going to go ahead and change the subject name, and I'm just going to name that, just for the sample, we'll call it structural. And since I actually already did that before, it actually autofills for me, so I can just go ahead and select what I just did. And once I've actually selected them, I can go ahead and right-click and add to my tool test. So let's say, for example, I want to add them to my engineers team tool test, and I don't have one for engineers, so I can actually go ahead and create one. So let's go ahead and create one first before I actually place that markup on my tool test. I'm going to go into my tab axis up here and click to open. I'm going to open my tool chest. And then notice how that opens up on the left panel of my screen. And I'm going to go into my Manage Tools. And then from here, these are the ones that I checked on are all the tool sets that I already have existing that you can see in my panel. So I'm going to go ahead and add my own tool chest. I'm going to go ahead and just name it LN Team as an example. And I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to save that to my local or my C drive. So in this case, it's local for me. So now notice that the LN tool chest has been added onto my tool sets, and you can see it here at the bottom of the dialog box. I can also share the same tool chest. If I highlight on that tool chest, I can export it, save it to my local or C drive, and then the team, I can go ahead and email the team and let them know it's located on drive P under folder tool chest. Then once they have that email or information, they can go ahead and open up Review, and then they can come right into their Manage Toolsets dialog box and click Import to import that tool chest into their review. So now that I've actually created a tool chest, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And now I'm going to add those markups that I created just a second ago and place them right into my tool chest. So what I can do here is I'm going to click on my markup to activate it. And now that I have my Properties panel open on the right side of my screen, I'm going to go down to the bottom. And then I have the option down here to add to my tool. So I'm going to click on the down arrow. And now I have that tool chest that I created where it says LM Team. And I'm going to go ahead and add that to my tool chest. So if you notice on the screen to my left, notice that that markup is now placed in that same tool chest. Also, if I created some of the markups and you notice I have a recent tool here, one thing to note is that the minute that you actually close the session, the recent tools will actually go back to a clean slate. So if there's any tools, there's something to know, if there's any tools or markups that you're creating throughout the process and you want to continue using them, the best thing to do is go ahead and, like I just did a minute ago, create your tool chest and then click on that markup and drag it over to that tool chest. So this way it won't reset the next time you come back to review and open that. So now you saw me add a markup either by right-clicking, adding to my tools, and actually dragging it from my recent tools all the way down to my LN Team tool chest. So now I'm actually going to go ahead and save this tool chest to my profile. I'm going to go back into View, and then I'm in my design profile, so I'm going to go ahead and save it. The profile is a place where you can store, standardize, and set up in your configured environment and add any dependencies that you might have linked. It also kind of helps keep everything standardized in a uniform way. So let's go back into profiles here, and which is my it's a little profile manager with a little bow tie and a blue sweater. So if I actually click on profiles, I can create my own customized profile. So I can actually go ahead and click on Add, and we're going to name it, again, LM Design Team Profile. And I'm going to click OK. And now you'll see that it has populated itself on my profiles list. So it's actually went ahead and alphabetized that for me right away. So it's in between my estimation and my office profile. I also have checked off to include dependencies. So if I do share that with other team members, everything stays linked together. Similar to the managed tool chest, I can go ahead and export this profile and save it to my local or my C drive. Similar way, the other party will then come into review, open up their Manage Profiles dialog box, and go ahead and import that profile into their review. Then you can go ahead and click OK. And now I have that profile here on, which is checked on currently at the moment. So now we're actually going to go ahead and take a look at our markups list, which I'm going to go ahead and open up the blue knob here at the bottom panel. So I'm going to click and drag open. So I have these markup lists, and what you see so far are the markups that I've created so far along this document. And think of the markup list, if you're familiar with Excel, think of it as it has columns and it has rows that you can work with. With Excel, you have a lot of flexibility with moving things around, very similar to your markup list. So if I want my status to be placed towards the end of my markup list, I can certainly grab on that status and just drag it over, very similar to Excel. I can also create my own custom columns and add my own formulas, again, very similar to Excel, where cell A1 multiplied by B1 gives me my sum in cell C1. So just something to give you a little bit something familiar to. So here I can actually go ahead and display certain columns. So if I want to display, let's say my, oops, not saying, there it goes. I wanted to go ahead and display my area column. Notice how it's populated on my markup list here. And I can turn those on and off anytime. Click 1 to over too many times, and I can go ahead and turn that off again. Another thing I can do here, I can go ahead and create my own custom columns. So if I click on my Manage Columns, which is the blue cogwheel that I clicked over here, same thing, I can actually highlight any of these already columns that have been displayed. We know that they're displayed because there's a blue check mark next to it. But if I want to move, let's say, my page to go down, I can certainly hit on this move down arrow as many times as I want to move it down to, or I can just put it right back. I have my custom columns tab here, where I can click that and go ahead and add any custom columns where I had mentioned earlier, where here you can actually create, you have quite a few choices on custom columns that you can create. You can create a check mark column, a choice column, a date, formula, and a number and a text column. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a free text one. So I'm going to create this as responsibility. And I'm going to click OK. So now that I'm here, I can actually apply this template to show in every new session that I have in review. I'm going to click OK. So every time that I actually come to review, however I displayed all of my custom columns and statuses, it would actually show for each new session of review. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So now I'm actually going to look at, since I'm going to have a couple of people review this, I want to make sure that I've actually set some of my status as well. So I'm going to click on my Manage My Statuses. And I already have two already existing my Manage status. I have my Review and my Migration. So under Review, I have the states that I have is accepted, rejected, canceled, completed, or none. For Migration, I have not confirmed, confirmed, and none. But I want to go ahead and add a new one. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Add. So we're going to name this Design Review and click OK. And for Design Review, I'm going to add a state of out of scope. And then click OK from here. And then I'm going to check off to default configuration. So I'm going to click OK after that. So now I want to make sure that those statuses are actually working within my markup list. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on the status column, double click, and now I have that Design Review custom column, custom status that I just created, and then my out of scope state. So now we're ready to move into Studio. So once we have all our custom columns and state and statuses, along with all our discipline-specific tools, which are ready and set to be distributed to the team, we're actually going to go ahead and jump into Studio, Bluebeam Studio. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and, let me say that really quickly. So we're going to go ahead and go into the Studio icon, which is located on the top of my command bar. And it's a blue box with a door opening. So I'm going to click on that. And then my Studio actually opens up on the right panel of my screen. And we're going to go ahead and start a new session. So I'm going to click on Start, New Session. And actually, you can go ahead and name my session. So I'm going to go ahead and name this Design Review as an example. And I'm going to go ahead and add my files that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and add my open files. Not my slide file. I'm going to go ahead and add that sheet that I have been marking up already. And then from here, I can actually set all my permissions. So let me open up the screen just a little bit more. So I have the options to set my permissions. I can actually, I can allow the attendees to save as, print, or mark. I'm also going to allow them to add markups, but the choice is up to yours, up to you, excuse me. The choice is up to you to change those permissions accordingly. So once I click OK, now that I have my files uploaded, I've adjusted my permissions. I'm going to click OK. One thing before I click OK, I can also restrict attendees by email address. So in the next screen, we'll show you how that's going to look like. But in this case, I'm not going to restrict anyone. So I'm going to click OK from here. So it's uploading that file that I have. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and invite my attendees. So in the screen before, where I had the option to restrict them by email addresses, if I populate their email addresses here, those will be the attendees who will be able to join the session. If they're not in the part of the email list, then they will not be able to join the session. So think of it as sort of the guest list. If they're not on the guest list, they don't get in. If they are on the guest list, they can certainly jump into your session. So for this example, we're going to go ahead and add an address. So since Steve Jones is here with me, I'm going to go ahead and add him. And I actually already had him on my auto saving it because I had invited him before to a different studio session. So I'm going to click OK. And then I can go ahead and add as many attendees from here. I can add up to 500 attendees. And then I can have the option to upload up to 100 files, no more than 100 megabytes each file. So once I've added my attendees here, I can go ahead and have the option to add a customized message. So I'm going to say, hi Steve, exclamation mark, because Steve is awesome to work with. And then I'm going to say, can you please review these drawings? A nice sideways happy face. So I'm going to click OK. So what that's going to look like to Steve, he's going to get an invitation that's going to say you have been invited to a Bluebeam Studio, and it's going to show my customized message, and it's going to give him the link to my studio session. But if he doesn't have a registered copy review, it also does provide you a link to our free viewer, which is Bluebeam View. So I click OK. That invitation has been sent out to Steve. And then now we're right into that studio session, as you see here. But we already have a session that we already started, so we're going to go ahead and jump into it since we have some activities on there already. So I'm in this session called Valley College Project number 07134-10, B as in boy. And I have here, I can see I have my session ID number. I can view that here. I can see all the attendees who have jumped into my session. And I also can see that our electrical and mechanical and plumbing guys have already jumped in here into the session. So if I zoom into one of these markups and I click and highlight it, you'll notice that it has those gray dots at each corner. I can't do anything with those markers. I can't move it. I can't enlarge that cloud. Something to note is that I cannot edit anyone else's markups but my own. So if let's say if I create a cloud here, notice how they have those yellow dots. I can go ahead and change and reconfigure that cloud any way I like. I can go ahead and delete it if I like, because those are my markups. But anyone else's markups that are placed here in the studio section, I cannot change them at all whatsoever. I have here, below here, I have my, my record. So it gives me a record of anyone who came in and what activities they did while they were in the session. So say, for example, I see that Steve Jones was here earlier, and he's asking me a question, what type of toilets are we getting for the men's restroom? Well, if I see here, I'm zooming in, I'm seeing right away there's a toilet here, but it's not really a men's restroom. But I can actually click on that comment he made, and at the very moment where he actually asked the question in the record box, it actually zooms into that location where he was having that, where he was processing that question. So it truly does give you that relevance where we are, where they were in that very place and time. So I can go ahead and leave the session. I'm sorry, I don't want to leave the session just yet. There's so much more to do here. I can go ahead and, so I saw Steve's markup, but I can also go ahead, I can see that Steve is on the session as well. So I can see that Danny and Eric have been in the session, but I see that they're no longer here because as I'm hovering over their names have been grayed out. But I can see that Steve is actively on the session now because his name went from that grayed out font type to a white. And notice as I hover over, I have these orange feet, and what that tells me is I can go ahead and follow him within the studio session. So if I click there, I am not touching the keyboard or the mouse. So what I'm seeing at the moment, I'm seeing Steve actually reviewing the drawings himself. So I'm actually virtually following him at the moment. So this is actually really great. So Steve and I were on the phone, and he has a question about the drawings, and he's asking me about, you know, what's the height of these rails on these stairs. We have plenty of stairs here in the drawing, but if I'm on the phone and I follow him, I can exactly see where his train of thought is and what portion of the drawing he's referring to. So it gives a really nice feel and flow to our communication, rather than saying, hold on, Steve, where exactly are you again on the drawing? Oh, are you in the right corner, left corner, bottom half? So it gives a really nice flow while we're on the phone without having to interrupt each other and ask each other where we are in the drawing. Also, if I were to leave the session, Steve can go ahead and continue making his markup and adding his comments, so which gives you the ability to truly collaborate and work together, and also the ability to work independently to place your comments and markups as you need to. So as I mentioned earlier, so if I were to, so I'm actually going to go ahead and stop following Steve. Thank you, Steve. Go ahead and click back. Okay. So so earlier we created some statuses. So if I open up my markup list, and I actually went ahead and filter them by subject, but I don't have to do that. I can go ahead and filter them either by all, having them view all, or I can actually filter them by subject. But if I go into my status column, I can go ahead and double click on my status, and I can have my design review that I created earlier. Then I also have the review. So I'm going to go ahead and click rejected for this status at the moment. But one thing to note is that it does, every time you put a status, it does give you that timestamp. So it says that I rejected it, and it gives you the date and the time. Let me open that a little bit further for you guys. But if I were to come back in here and change that status to say, okay, it's now accepted. So what you're seeing here is actually it's stacking all the status changes for you. So it's building up those additional statuses. So there's never a question of who said what and who rejected and who canceled. There's never that question about that. So, so it does stack them up. So it does keep that sort of record there for you in the status columns. So what happens when the comments are placed and revisions have been issued? What's next? So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how to download this drawing that we have on the studio locally. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into my command bar menu and go into File, and then click on Save As. I'm going to go ahead and save this drawing locally on my desktop. And of course, you may have some type of standards for naming convention. So I'm going to go ahead and just put an underscore video comment and save that to my local desktop. So now, notice how I have a new file placed here, and notice on the tab, it has the new file name that I just gave it, and it no longer has that studio, that blue box with the door icon, because this is actually my own local saved copy. So from here, there's been a new sheet that has been issued out. Let's say revision 2 is out. I can go ahead and flip sheet this drawing, and I can just go by going into my Documents menu, going into down click on my pages, and then I'm going to go ahead and replace the pages. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to update the new drawing sheet with revision 2, but I'm going to keep all those comments on top of there, so at least we can continue to build up on that. So I'm going to click Replace. I'm going to go ahead and find revision 2. So A201 revision 2 has been issued. So I'm going to click Open. So now in here I have my Replace Pages menu. So I have my current page, which is file name A201_studio comments, which I'm going to replace it with my A201 revision 2 PDF. So page 121. If I were to have, for example, if I want to replace this one page file out of page 1 through 20, I would just go ahead and select page 5, and if page 5 is in the same location on the new file, it would be page 5 as well. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So now I have the new drawing underneath, the new updated drawing, and I still have all of my markups on my drawing. So now I've only replaced the page content only. So now the next thing to do would be to place all of those layers, all of those markups into a layer. I got ahead of myself there. So what I can do from here, I can say, well, these are all of my, for example, schematic design comments and markups. So I'm going to go ahead and click Control A on my keyboard. So now I've selected all those markups, and I'm going to right-click on any markup, actually. And I'm actually going to go ahead and create a new layer. And I'm going to name that my SD layer. So from here, I'm going to click OK. So now I have my SD layer, and I can go ahead and turn that off. So I still have a clean sheet of my A201 revision 2, but I can go ahead and turn on those comments and those markups that were created in the studio session. Now the next thing from here, you can go ahead and upload, because I have the ability as a host, but I've also given the same permission to all of my attendees. Again, as I showed you earlier how to set up the new session, I can go ahead and add this file into that same studio session. So you'll see here, so what you'll see under the documents is you'll see that same file name that I gave earlier. So you'll see that there's that archiving of A201, and then there's an A201 Studio Commons revised copy. So you can go ahead and upload it to the same studio session. But as best practice, you can go ahead and start a new session. Again, you have a limit to the sessions you can create, so there's no limit or cap on that. As I mentioned earlier, you can invite up to 500 attendees. You can add up to 100 files, as long as they're no larger than 100 megabytes for each file. So you can either go ahead and add a new session from here and re-invite your attendees, or go ahead and add it to your existing studio. So during the live life of the session really stays open as long as there's activity. So whether there's activity for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 6 months, as long as there's activity in that session will stay open. As long as there's comments being placed, that session will continue to stay open. Something to keep in mind is that as the longer the session there is, the longer your record that you see here on your screen will grow even larger. So when you actually do go and create that session report, there will be some time that you may have to allow to kind of download all the information. So as I mentioned, it's probably best practice to kind of add that revised drawing to a new session, so you're not having to deal with the downside of downloading such a long report. So with the session report here, I've actually brought up my session report dialog box. So I have the option at any time during the session or at the end of the session, I have the option to create a report. I have 3 choices, either do a record summary, a PDF report, or combined files report. I personally like the PDF package report, and I'll show you how that looks like in a minute. I can add any notes on there regarding the session, and I can actually check off anything that I want to or don't want to see in the session. So once I click OK, that's going to take a couple of seconds to download. So first I have to save it to my desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and save it to my desktop here, click Save. And then now it's actually generated a PDF package report. So what you see here is you see the actual documents that have been placed up in the studio session along with the report. So I'm going to go ahead and open the report. And again, this is just another level of accountability to see who attended the session and it keeps a record of who did what. So I see that these are all of my attendees. These are the documents that were viewed in this session. And then I keep the record of who did what and what time, and the timestamps it for me to see. Also, if I have, like I see Danny edited a call out, it actually comes already hyperlinked with the drawing of the studio session document. So if I click on, I want to see that call out, it takes you right back into the drawing that Danny edited that call out. So at this moment, we're going to take it to some questions and answers. Steve, do we have any questions that we need to address?
So if you have any questions, just type them in the questions window or in the chat window. We'll just give you a few moments to type in there. In the meantime, while we're waiting on questions to come in, Lilian, actually one common question we get from a lot of users is if you want to invite users to join in a studio session or project with you that do not own Bluebeam Revu, is there a way to do that? Can you invite, for example, if a GC wants to invite his subs to a studio session that do not have Bluebeam, how are you able to do that?
Yeah, if they don't have a registered copy of Bluebeam Revu, they can certainly download our free viewer called Bluebeam View. So in the actual invitation that gets sent out from studio session, there's a link to the studio session, but there's also a link in the same email invite to download Bluebeam View.
Cool. And the great thing about that is when folks that join a studio session or project using the free viewer view, as long as they are taking part in that studio session or project, they're going to have all of the markup tools and capabilities that someone would have even if they owned a full seat of Revu. So essentially their free viewer kind of unlocks into almost the full capabilities of Revu. So that's one of the really great things about leveraging Studio as a cloud collaboration platform is it's not kind of a lockdown proprietary system where everyone has to own the software. Okay. We got a question in the window here. The question is, can I import a PDF that I've worked on in Studio back into AutoCAD?
The short answer is no. Once it's, you can't push back a PDF into AutoCAD. Once it's been exported into a PDF file, there's no way to push that back into AutoCAD because it's just a PDF document. But you can also, but one thing you can do is that in AutoCAD you can actually use that as an X-ray underlay. So if you are in AutoCAD, you can go ahead and reference that PDF as an X-ray.
Cool. Okay. So I don't see any more questions in the question or chat window. So Lilian, if you would, can you point our attendees to Bluebeam University? It's our online kind of training portal where customers can view videos about specific features and workflows and recorded webinars and things like that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. So on my screen, you actually see the Bluebeam Studio. So if there's any more information you want to know about Bluebeam Studio itself, if you might want to remember those 500 and 100 file limits, it's right here on the screen. But if I go back to the top of my web page and click on Bluebeam University, we have tons and tons of like short videos where definitely will show you how to do. So in this case for Studio, we will find it under, let's see, Advanced Studies. So here we go. So we have a couple of pre-recorded videos that we have about Bluebeam Studio.
So this is really great because you can view just kind of short 5-minute snippets about specific features, all the way to longer, more extended hour-long recorded webinars about specific topics. So if you're looking to find more information about how Bluebeam and Studio work, this is a great resource for you. So we're looks like we're towards the end of our session here. We really appreciate your time. Kevin, I'll hand it back off to you.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Steve. So let me switch on back over to my slides, and here we go. All right. Let me know if you guys can see my screen here. Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, so yeah, thank you for this awesome presentation, Lilian and Steve. Thank you for briefly covering the website. I want to thank all of the attendees for joining our session today. Big thank you page right here just for you guys. But yes, so yeah, I mean, the webinar is brought to you by Novedge.com. You're one of the largest online design software stores. If you guys are looking to pick up a copy to check out our Bluebeam catalog, you guys are more than welcome to call and speak with our Bluebeam specialist, Calvin Locke, and to visit our website at Novedge.com. If you guys want more information, you guys can contact our Bluebeam specialist, Calvin, at calvin@novedge.com as well. And if you want to take your Bluebeam skills even further, as Steve and Lilian mentioned, there's tons of information, tutorials, videos at bluebeam.com. So yeah, check it out as well. To get a glimpse of who is changing the world of design one step at a time, please visit Novedge's very own blog. Every week, our interviews shine a light on those innovators whose work break out from the norm. For more details, please visit us today at blog.novedge.com and stay up to date with what's happening in the design industry along with Novedge's latest webinars and product promos. Do like us on Facebook. Coming up the week after Thanksgiving, Mayim Roth-Holtzman will return to Novedge and we'll be talking about jewelry modeling and how to be successful at it with Rhino V5. She'll take you from rapid prototyping to the final 3D production of the spec sheet. So yeah, if you guys want more information, check out novedge.com/webinar/95. Last but not least, today's webinar is being recorded. If you want to rewatch episode 94 in its entirety, as always, you can find it on our Novedge webinar series channel through Vimeo and YouTube. All right, so thank you for joining us today. It's a super rainy day in San Francisco, and hopefully the weather is much, much better wherever you guys are. So yeah, Lilian, any last words before we sign off on today's presentation?
All I know is that we're going to get your rain tomorrow.
All right. You guys have a good one. See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.